Sometimes it's hard to know just what to draw, so I'd like to show you how to set yourself up for success, starting with the photos you choose to draw from. I'll also show you how to get strong references using just your smartphone. I always use a reference for my work. If I can't have what I'm drawing right in front of me, a photo is the next best thing. But what makes a good reference photo? I always use my smartphone, never a camera, and I'll show you what can go wrong. In this first photo of an eggplant flower, all the flowers are really the same color, sort of that darker violet. But because the sun was too bright, some of them have blown out almost to white. It would be hard to draw them with any detail because I really can't see what I'm working on. The next one is a toad lily, the spotted flower you see. It's a pretty nice composition. The flowers look good, but it's out of focus. So when I went to draw the detail, I really wouldn't be able to capture everything that I wanted. In the next picture of roses, you'll see that the roses are beautiful, but there's too much visual noise. By that I mean all that garden in the background. It's just confusing to look at, and my subject is just too tiny. In the last photo, I have a rose up close and personal, but you can see that same effect from too much sun on the petals. None of that rose is white, but I've completely lost detail and color. Here's that same rose. It's a much better image. I can see all of the color. I've used my smartphone editing capacity to tone down all those bright highlights and create more contrast. Contrast is the key to understanding what you're looking at. In the next image, I've pulled those roses from the cluttered image closer to me. Now I have a lovely composition with 4 nice blooms right in focus. I still have some background, but I can work with that later. This close-up of an Osteospermum daisy is a beautiful color. I can see so much detail, and it's just centered right in the middle of the frame. It'll be easy for me to draw from this photo. In this detail of an Abutilon bloom, I can see every vein. I can see the contrast between the green and the orange, and I can see all the little details that are going to make this an interesting drawing. My last image of a marigold shows all this yellow, but there's enough contrast and separation between those blossoms that I won't have to do any guesswork when I'm drawing. It's a pretty good image, and I think I can make a nice drawing from this one. The best photos to draw from are the ones you take yourself. It'll be a better result for you in the end if you've seen your subject in real life. And everything you need to take a good reference photo is right in your pocket. I'm going to take a picture of this plant. I've opened my camera and I've centered my image on the plant, but I want to show you what you can do to make this a better picture. If I tap on the plant, I can see a little yellow square. That'll show me where my focus will be. To the right of the yellow square is a sunshine. That's going to allow me to control the light and darkness that I put onto the image. You can see that if I add too much light, I completely lose parts of the plant. While if I plunge this to full darkness, I lose all the detail. So I'm going to play with that to get just the right contrast that will help me later. Now, before I take the picture, here's a tip. If I want to go in closer, I'm tempted to blow up the image right on my screen. Don't do that. When you do, you'll lose pixels, meaning you'll lose focus later. So here's how to handle it. Tap where you want to be, blow it up, adjust the lighting, and then close it back down to distance before you take the picture. You'll be able to work with editing after the picture is done. Now I've captured the plant, I'll be able to work with it in editing and make it the best reference photo it can be. When you've already taken a photo, there's still some things you can do to make it a better reference. In this picture of a pink hydrangea, all of the color is kind of flat. All I have to do is touch the Edit button in the upper right of my phone, And the first thing I'll do is crop this picture in. I'm going to put it in this grid so that my area of focus is on one of those cross sections. Now I can change the lighting a little bit to improve what I see. Can you see how much clearer it is when I add a little bit of light? That's all I'll need to do, so I'll tap Done, and now that photo is saved. But here's the good news. If I want to go back, I can touch Edit again, and I have Revert in the lower right-hand corner. When I touch Revert and revert to original, I'm right back to my original photo. Here's another photo that could benefit from a little bit of editing. This beautiful painted lady butterfly was in my garden, but I had to deal with the sunshine that I had on that day. So once again, I'll first crop to place my subject where I want it. I'm going to go to lighting again, and this time I'm going to make it a little bit darker. That gives a little more contrast between the butterfly and the leaves behind. Let me show you what that got for me. When I blow this up, I can see every hair and every scale on that butterfly. Beautiful. In this image, there's too much of that background noise, too much garden for the butterfly and the echinacea flower. So once again, let's edit. We'll crop this in. And I'm going to adjust the lighting just a little bit. Watch what happens to the pink flower. Now I can see every fold in those petals, and there's a lovely contrast of the butterfly against the pink. That one's done. One more to go. In this image of a mum, I have way too much of that gray background. With my edit tool, my first job, of course, is to crop. So I'll bring this image in. And now I'm going to give it a little bit of lighting adjustment. If I go too dark, I start to lose the image. If I go too light, it would blow out. But I'm going to add that little bit of extra lightness to balance the dark, and I've got that one ready to go. I can check if I'd like my contrast by going to the tool that is the color tool. If I scroll along, I'll see mono. That means monochromatic. And when I drop it back to a black and white photo, I can see that I have a nice range from light to dark. It's just a good way to check your photo. It won't save unless you press Done. But remember, you can always go back to the beginning image and start again. I'll turn that back to color, press Done, and I'm all set to go. Now we've got a great reference photo, but let's talk a little bit about how to use them in artwork. Always remember that drawing from photos is not drawing photos. So making a precise copy isn't really even a thing. You'll have more realistic artwork if you use your artistic license. Once you have a photo you think would be good to draw from, let's talk about how to use that photo without copying it exactly. This is a photo reference of pink tulips that I took in Monet's garden in France. And this is the drawing I did from that photo. You can see that the drawing is lighter and brighter than the photo. What I really wanted to capture was that glowing pink and the water droplets. They show up beautifully against a black background. I just dropped out all of the greenery behind the tulips, and it's a much more striking image. In this next photo, this is a little rare orchid, the Calypso bulbosa, that grows in the Colorado Rockies. I couldn't pick one to draw, so I had to rely on photographs. When it's in the forest floor, there's all kinds of other plant material around it. And I had to be sure that I got the right leaves on the right flower. So I used my photo reference, took out the background, and used other photos to help me draw and sculpt those leaves. It's much clearer in the drawing than it was in the photo. In this class, we'll be using reference photos that I'm providing for you. They're great photos because I've actually made them with no backgrounds, but we'll be interpreting them like artists, changing up the color a little bit, adding more contrast. We'll be working on a pear, a leaf, a persimmon, and finally a tulip. In the next lesson, we'll dive all the way into color and color layering.